Rilith had done many foolish things in his short life. He had cheated on his navigation exam. He had stolen extra rations from the kitchen. He had insulted Instructor Paloran's teaching methods within earshot of Instructor Paloran. But nothing compared to the punishment he received that morning. They gave him a human roommate. The Sorvani cadet stood in the doorway of his assigned quarters, all four of his thin arms pressed tight against his thorax in fear. His compound eyes watched the creature sitting on the opposite bed, unpacking a small bag. The human looked up. "Hey, I am Danny. You must be my roommate." Rilith's mandibles clicked nervously. The human was not as large as he had expected. Shorter than a Threki, certainly. No visible clothes. No automotive plots. Brown skin, dark hair, and eyes that seemed far too calm for a creature from a Class 12 Deathworld. "I am Rilith," he managed to say. "Nice to meet you, Rilith." The human smiled, showing his teeth. Rilith nearly fainted. Teeth. So many teeth. Flat ones in front, but there in the corners, those were definitely predator teeth. He had read about Earth predators. Wolves. Lions. Sharks. Humans had evolved alongside them. Some said humans had hunted them for sport. "You okay?" Danny asked. "You look pale." "Well, paler than before." "I am fine," Rilith lied. "I was simply not expecting a Deathworlder." Danny nodded slowly. "Yeah, I get that a lot. Since I arrived, actually, everyone keeps staring at me like I might eat them." "Will you?" The human laughed. It was a strange sound, rough and warm at the same time. "No, Rilit. I'm not going to eat you. Humans do not eat sentient beings. We do not eat most things that can talk back. Most things. It was a joke. Sorry. Human humor does not translate well, I think." Rilith slowly entered the room and moved toward his own bed. He kept the human in his peripheral vision at all times. The orientation briefing had explained that humans possessed something called endurance hunting in their evolutionary history. They would chase prey for hours, sometimes days, until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. They could not be outrun, only outlasted, and outlasting a human, the briefing had noted, was nearly impossible. "I have a question," Rilith said carefully. "Why are you here?" "At the academy." Danny finished unpacking his bag. There was not much inside. Some clothes, a small book, a photograph of what looked like a family standing in front of a wooden house. "Earth just made contact with the galactic community 2 years ago," Danny said. "The Union wanted to see what humans could do. The academy offered one spot. I applied, but this is a combat academy, a military institution. I know, Deathworlders are known for violence. The Threki, the Gorvani, the Hollow Walkers of Dran 4, they're all combat specialists. Is that why you came? To fight?" Danny sat down on his bed and looked at Rilith with those strange, steady eyes. "I came to learn, and maybe to show people that not everything from a death world wants to break things." Rilith did not know what to say to that. In his experience, strong species used their strength. It was the natural order. The weak served. The strong commanded. The dangerous were given wide space and careful respect. A human who did not want to break things was like a star that did not want to shine. It made no sense that a chime sounded through the room. The orientation assembly was beginning. Danny stood and stretched. Even that simple motion revealed something unsettling. The way his muscles moved beneath his skin. The easy balance of his stance. He moved like something that had never needed to fear being hunted. Because on Earth, Rilith realized, humans had been the hunters. "Ready to go?" Danny asked. Rilith nodded and followed his new roommate into the corridor. Other cadets filled the hallway, moving toward the assembly hall. A group of Threki cadets stopped talking as Danny passed. Their leader, a massive gray-skinned cadet named Gorvin, watched the human with open contempt. "That is the Deathworlder." Gorvin's voice carried easily. It looked soft, breakable. Danny did not react. He kept walking, his pace unchanged. Rilith hurried to keep up. "You heard him." "I heard him." "You are not angry." Danny glanced down at Rilith. There was something in his expression that the Sorvani could not quite read. Not anger, not fear, something older, deeper. "Being angry at loud voices is a waste of energy," Danny said quietly. "My grandmother used to say that back home. Save your strength for things that matter. They entered the assembly hall together. Hundreds of cadets from dozens of species filled the seats. At the front, Administrator Chellis stood waiting, her wispy form flickering slightly in the artificial light. She began speaking about tradition, about honor, about the Academy's 3,000 years of service to the Galactic Union. Rilith barely listened. He was too busy watching his roommate. Danny sat perfectly still, his attention fixed on the administrator. He did not fidget. He did not look around. He simply watched and listened with a patience that seemed impossible for a predator species. Maybe Rilith thought he had misjudged the human, or maybe the human was simply waiting for the right moment to strike. Either way, Rilith decided he would sleep with one eye open tonight, just in case. 3 days was not enough time to understand a human. Rilith had tried. He had watched Danny eat breakfast, noting how the human chewed slowly and methodically. He had observed Danny studying late at night, reading through tactical manuals with focused intensity. He had even worked up the courage to ask Danny questions about Earth. The answers had only confused him more. Earth had creatures that could kill with a single bite. Earth had weather systems that spawned spinning columns of destruction. Earth had mountains that vomited liquid rock and oceans that crushed anything that swam too deep. And somehow, humans had not only survived there, but had become the dominant species. Now one of those humans stood in the center of the assessment arena, facing 3 Sorvani cadets who looked like they wanted to be anywhere else. "Begin," Instructor Paloran announced from the observation platform. The 3 Sorvani spread out, trying to surround Danny. Their movements were quick and nervous. They had been chosen for this assessment because they were considered easy opponents. Sorvani were not built for combat. Their exoskeletons were thin. Their limbs were fragile. Against a Deathworlder, they stood no real chance. Danny did not move. The first Sorvani darted forward, swinging a training blade in a wide arc. Danny stepped to the side, letting the blade pass harmlessly. The second Sorvani attacked from behind. Danny pivoted, caught the cadet's arm gently, and redirected him into the first attacker. They tumbled together in a tangle of limbs. The third Sorvani hesitated. Danny looked at him with calm eyes. "I'm not going to hurt you. You have to fight," the cadet stammered. "Those are the rules." "No. The rules say the assessment ends when one side yields or cannot continue." Danny sat down on the arena floor. "I yield." The observation gallery erupted in noise. Shouts of confusion, laughter, and angry protests filled the air. Instructor Paloran's 4 arms waved frantically as he tried to restore order in the front row of the gallery. Gorvin's booming laugh cut through everything else. "The Deathworlder is a coward," Gorvin shouted. "Earth sends us a weakling who will not even fight insects." Danny stood up slowly. He looked at the 3 Sorvani cadets, who were still recovering from their collision. "Good match," he said quietly to them. "You have fast reflexes." Then he walked out of the arena. Rilith found him an hour later in their shared quarters. Danny was sitting on his bed, reading the small book he had brought from Earth. His expression was unreadable. "Why did you do that?" Rilith demanded. "Everyone is saying you are a coward. Gorvin is telling everyone that humans are frauds. That Earth's classification must be a mistake." Danny turned a page. "Let them talk. But you could have won easily. I saw how you moved. You were faster than all 3 of them combined. Winning would have meant hurting them." Danny looked up. "They cannot hurt me, Rilith. Not really. Their blades would not have cut deep enough to matter. Their strikes would have bruised me at worst. What kind of victory is that? Beating someone who never had a chance." Rilith's mandibles clicked in frustration. "That is how strength works. The strong defeat the weak. On Earth, we have a different word for that. We call it bullying." "What is bullying?" Danny closed his book. "Using your strength against someone who cannot defend themselves. Taking pleasure in making others feel small. Where I come from, that is considered shameful. The lowest kind of behavior. But you are a predator species." "Yes, and predators on Earth learned something important a long time ago. If you kill everything weaker than you, eventually there is nothing left. No pra, no ecosystem, no future." The smartest predators learned to take only what they needed, to protect the balance. Rilith did not know how to respond. This was not how Deathworlders were supposed to think. A heavy knock shook their door. Danny stood up smoothly, moving between Rillith and the entrance. "Stay behind me." The door slid open. Gorvin filled the frame, his massive bulk blocking the light from the corridor. Two other Threkkies stood behind him. "Human," Gorvin growled. "You embarrassed yourself today. You embarrassed your whole pathetic species." Danny said nothing. Gorvin stepped forward, forcing Danny back into the room. "I think you need a lesson in how real warriors behave. I think you need to leave." Gorvin's hand shot out, slamming into Danny's chest and shoving him hard against the wall. The impact echoed through the small room. Rillith froze in terror. Danny did not fall. He absorbed the blow, his back hitting the wall and stopping there. His feet remained planted. His expression did not change. Gorvin's eyes widened slightly. "Hit me again," Danny said softly, "if it makes you feel strong." For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Gorvin laughed, though it sounded forced now. "You are not worth my time, human. Enjoy hiding in your room with the insects." He turned and left, his followers trailing behind. That Rillith's legs gave out. He collapsed on his bed, all four arms shaking. "How did you do that?" he whispered. "He hit you hard enough to break bones." Danny rubbed his chest absently. "Humans are denser than we look. Our bones are thick. Our muscles are layered. We evolved to take damage and keep moving." He smiled slightly. "Also, he hits like my little sister." Rillith stared at him. "You have a sister who hits like that?" "I have 4 sisters. They're all terrifying." Danny picked up his book again. "Get some sleep, Rillith. Tomorrow will be better." Rillith did not sleep that night, that he was too busy realizing that everything he thought he knew about Deathworlders was wrong. Nimri had dropped her food tray exactly twice in her entire life. The first time was during her hatching ceremony, when she was barely old enough to hold objects. Her mother had laughed and helped her clean the mess. The second time was now, in the Academy mess hall, with Gorvin's massive hand still hovering where he had slapped the tray from her grasp. The Sorvani female stood frozen, nutrient paste splattered across her delicate arms and dripping onto the polished floor. Around her, the mess hall had gone quiet. 300 cadets watched in silence. "Clumsy little bug," Gorvin sneered. "Perhaps your species should stick to cleaning floors instead of pretending to be soldiers." Nimri bent down to retrieve her tray, her compound eyes stinging with humiliation. Before she could reach it, Gorvin's foot kicked it further away, sending it spinning across the floor. Laughter erupted from the Threkkie table. Across the hall, Rillith started to rise from his seat. He was her clutch brother. He should defend her. But his legs would not move. Fear locked his joints in place. Then he saw Danny stand up. The human had been eating alone at a corner table, as he had every day for the past 3 weeks. The other cadets avoided him. Some thought he was a coward. Others simply did not know what to make of a Deathworlder who refused to fight. Danny crossed the mess hall with unhurried steps. His footfalls made almost no sound on the metal floor. By the time Gorvin noticed him approaching, Danny was already kneeling beside Nimri. "Let me help," Danny said gently as he picked up the scattered tray, wiped the nutrient paste from its surface with his sleeve, and handed it back to her. Then he stood and faced Gorvin. The Threkkie champion was nearly twice Danny's height. His shoulders were broader than a cargo loader. His bone plates gleamed under the artificial lights. "The coward speaks," Gorvin said. "What do you want, human?" "To surrender again. I want you to apologize to her." The mess hall went absolutely silent. Gorvin's eyes narrowed. "What did you say?" "You knocked her tray down. You insulted her species. You should apologize." Danny's voice was calm, almost friendly, like he was discussing the weather. "I do not apologize to insects. And I certainly do not take orders from cowards." Danny nodded slowly. "Then I suppose we have a problem." Gorvin shoved Danny hard in the chest. The human slid back half a step, but remained standing. Gorvin shoved again, harder. Danny's feet scraped against the floor, but he did not fall. "Fight back," Gorvin roared. "Show everyone what a pathetic excuse for a Deathworlder you really are." Danny did not raise his hands. Gorvin's patience snapped. He swung a massive fist at Danny's chest, a blow that had cracked the armor of training dummies and broken the ribs of foolish challengers. Danny caught the fist, his hand wrapped around Gorvin's knuckles, fingers pressing into the gaps between bone plates. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. The entire mess hall held its breath. Then Danny squeezed. Gorvin's confident expression crumbled. His knees buckled. A sound escaped his throat, something between a gasp and a whimper. He tried to pull his hand back, but Danny's grip did not budge. Danny leaned in close. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper, but in the silent hall, everyone heard him clearly. "You want to fight someone? I'm right here. Anytime, any place. But leave the ones who cannot fight back alone. Do you understand?" Gorvin's only response was a strangled grunt. Danny released him. The Threkkie stumbled backward, cradling his hand against his chest. His followers caught him before he could fall. His bone plates were intact, but the fear in his eyes told a different story. Danny turned to Nimri. "Are you okay?" She nodded quickly, mandibles clicking in shock. "Good. Sorry about the mess on your uniform. The synthesizers should have more paste if you need a fresh meal." Then Danny walked back to his corner table and sat down. He picked up his utensil and resumed eating as if nothing had happened. Rilith rushed to his clutched sister's side. "Nimri, are you hurt?" "I am fine," she whispered. "Did you see that? Did you see what he did?" Rilith had seen. The whole academy had seen. The human had not struck Gorvin. He had not used weapons or tricks. He had simply grabbed the most feared cadet in the academy and made him kneel with nothing but grip strength. Across the hall, Gorvin was being helped to his feet by his followers. His hand was still functional, just sore. But his pride was another matter. He stared at Danny with an expression Rilith had never seen on the champion's face before. Hatred. Pure, burning hatred, and underneath it, barely hidden, something else, fear. That night, the Academy's communication networks buzzed with a single topic. The human had finally shown his true strength. And it was terrifying, but what scared everyone most was not the strength itself, that IT was the control. Danny had not broken Gorvin's hand. He could have. Everyone who saw the incident knew he could have crushed those bones to powder. But he had chosen not to doubt a predator that could destroy, but chose restraint was far more dangerous than one that simply attacked everything in sight. Rilith lay awake in his bed, listening to Danny's steady breathing from across the room. The human was asleep, peaceful, unbothered. Rilith wondered if he would ever sleep peacefully again. Something was coming. He could feel it in the recycled air, and when it arrived, everything would change. Administrator Chellis had lived for 400 years. In that time, she had seen empires rise and fall. She had watched species evolve from primitive tool users to starfaring civilizations. She had witnessed the Academy transform from a small training facility to the most prestigious military institution in the galaxy. She had never seen a formal challenge request filed with such speed. The document glowed on her desk screen. Gorvin's identification seal stamped prominently at the bottom. The language was old, formal, invoking rights that dated back to the Academy's founding. The right of challenge. An ancient tradition that allowed any cadet to demand single combat with another. The challenge party could not refuse without immediate expulsion. She summoned the human. Danny arrived 20 minutes later, still wearing his standard uniform. He stood before her desk with his hands clasped behind his back, waiting patiently. "Do you know why you are here?" Chellis asked. "Gorvin filed a challenge against me." "You do not seem surprised." "I am not. He needed to do something after what happened in the mess hall. His pride required it." Chellis studied the human carefully. His vital signs were steady. His posture was relaxed. If he felt any fear about facing the Academy's reigning combat champion, he showed no sign of it. "The challenge is a serious matter," she said. "If you refuse, you will be expelled and returned to Earth in disgrace. If you accept and lose, you face potential severe injury. Gorvin has sent 4 cadets to the medical wing this year alone. 2 required reconstructive surgery." Danny nodded. "What are the rules?" Chellis outlined them. The fight continued until one party yielded, lost consciousness, or the officiating instructor stopped the match. Weapons were permitted based on species' natural capabilities. Medical intervention was available, but the Academy assumed no responsibility for permanent damage. Gorvin's natural capabilities include bone plates that can deflect blade strikes and fists that can crack hull plating, Chellis added. Your natural capabilities, according to Earth's classification documents, include enhanced endurance, higher pain tolerance, and superior pattern recognition. These are not combat advantages. I understand. Do you accept the challenge? Yes. Chellis leaned back in her chair. May I ask why? You have avoided every fight since arriving. You forfeited your assessment. You did not retaliate when Gorvin struck you. Why accept now? Danny was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. Earth is watching. The Union is watching. If I run away, they will think humans are cowards. If I fight badly, they will think humans are weak. Either way, my species loses its chance to be seen as something other than Deathworld monsters. He met her eyes directly. I need to show them something different. And what is that? That we are dangerous because we choose when to be dangerous, not because we cannot stop ourselves. Chellis considered this. In 400 years, she had heard many reasons for accepting challenges. Revenge, pride, duty, political maneuvering. Never once had she heard someone accept a potentially lethal fight to change how the galaxy perceived their species. The match is scheduled for 3 days from now, she said finally. I suggest you prepare. I will. Thank you, Administrator. He turned to leave. Human, Chellis called. Danny. He paused at the door. Do not die. It would create considerable paperwork. Something like a smile crossed his face. I will do my best. That night, Rillith found Danny in their quarters, sitting cross-legged on his bed with his eyes closed. His breathing was slow and measured. What are you doing? Rillith asked. Meditating. It helps me focus. You should be training. Practicing combat forms. Learning how to fight Threki anatomy. Danny opened one eye. I already know Threki anatomy. I studied it my first week here. Then what are you going to do? Gorvin has defeated every opponent he has faced. He is faster than he looks, stronger than anyone in the Academy, and he wants to hurt you. Badly. Danny closed his eye again. I know. Then how can you be so calm? Because panic does not help. Fear does not help. The only thing that helps is knowing exactly what you're going to do and being ready to do it. Danny's breathing never changed. I have a plan, Rillith. What plan? A simple one. Rillith waited, but Danny did not elaborate. The silence stretched until it became clear the human was done talking. Why are you doing this? Rillith finally asked. Really? You could leave. Go back to Earth. No one would blame you. Danny opened his eyes. In the dim light of their quarters, they seemed darker than usual. Older. When I was young, my grandmother told me a story about a man who saw injustice and did nothing. He watched bullies hurt the weak. He watched tyrants crush the helpless. He always had reasons not to act. Fear, practicality, self-preservation. Danny's voice was quiet. The man lived a long life. Safe, comfortable. And when he died, no one remembered him. Because he had never stood for anything. Rillith's mandibles clicked softly. What happened to the bullies? The tyrants? They were eventually stopped. By people who decided that some things mattered more than safety. Danny lay back on his bed and stared at the ceiling. I'm not brave, Rillith. I'm terrified. But I would rather be terrified and stand for something than safe and stand for nothing. Rillith did not sleep that night either. But this time, it was not fear keeping him awake. That it was something else. Something he did not have a word for. Something that felt almost like hope. The challenge arena had not been this full in 15 years. Every seat was occupied. Cadets climbed onto railings and perched on support beams to get a better view. Recording drones hovered in precise formations, capturing everything for the galactic networks. Somewhere out there, billions of beings were watching a human face a Threki for the first time in recorded history. Gorvin entered first. He wore traditional Threki challenge armor, his natural bone plates supplemented with impact-resistant padding. His steps shook the floor. His supporters roared their approval. Stamping their feet in rhythmic thunder, he raised his arms and soaked in the adoration. Then Danny walked in. The arena fell silent. The human wore his standard academy uniform. No armor, no padding, no weapons. His feet were bare against the cold metal floor. He walked to his designated position and stood there, hands at his sides, eyes fixed on his opponent. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some thought he was insane. Others thought he had already given up. Instructor Paloran stepped to the center of the arena. His forearms spread wide as he recited the ancient words. The challenge has been invoked and accepted. Let neither party leave until honor is satisfied. Combat begins on my signal and ends when one party yields, falls unconscious, or I call the match. He looked at Gorvin. Champion, are you ready? Gorvin cracked his knuckles. The sound echoed like breaking stone. I am ready to teach this coward what real strength looks like. Paloran turned to Danny. Challenger, are you ready? Danny nodded once. Paloran stepped back. He raised one arm. Then he dropped it. Gorvin charged at IT was a sight that had broken dozens of opponents. A wall of muscle and bone moving at terrifying speed, closing the distance in heartbeats. His fist drew back, ready to deliver a blow that could dent starship plating. Danny did not retreat. At the last possible moment, he shifted. It was a small movement, almost invisible. His body turned sideways, letting Gorvin's charge pass within inches. As the Threcky thundered past, Danny pivoted. His palm struck Gorvin's side. One clean hit, just below the armored plates, in the gap where the Threcky's internal organs were least protected. Gorvin's charge became a stumble. The stumble became a fall. He crashed to the arena floor and did not get up. The arena was silent. Gorvin was not unconscious. His eyes were open, wide with terror. He was trying to move, but his limbs only twitched uselessly. His breath came in short gasps. Danny knelt beside him. Temporary nerve disruption, he said calmly, loud enough for the recording drones to catch. Your body signals are confused. You will recover full mobility in about 10 minutes. There is no permanent damage. Gorvin's mouth worked, but only a strangled sound emerged. Do you yield? The Threcky champion, the terror of the academy, the undefeated warrior who had broken bones and crushed hopes, could do nothing but blink. Once for yes. Danny stood. He yields. Instructor Paloran rushed forward, checking Gorvin's vital signs with a medical scanner. The readings confirmed what Danny had said. Elevated stress hormones, disrupted nerve pathways, but nothing broken, nothing torn, no internal bleeding. Match duration, Paloran announced, his voice shaking slightly. For seconds, victory to the human. The arena exploded. Some cheered. Some screamed in disbelief. Some sat in stunned silence, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Danny helped the medical team load Gorvin onto a stretcher. He checked the restraints personally, making sure they were secure but not too tight. You will be fine, he told Gorvin quietly. Rest. Drink water. The confusion will pass. Then he walked toward the exit. Administrator Chellis stepped into his path. How did you do that? She asked. Danny stopped. The recording drones circled closer, capturing every word. Humans have studied anatomy for thousands of years, Danny said. Not just our own. Every species we encountered, we learned how their bodies worked. Where they were strong, where they were weak. How to heal them. He paused. And how to stop them without killing them. That strike. It was precise. Surgical. My people were persistence hunters. We did not need to be the strongest or the fastest. We needed to understand our prey better than they understood themselves. Danny looked at the stretcher carrying Gorvin away. I did not want to hurt him. I just wanted him to stop. Chellis studied the human for a long moment. You could have killed him. Yes, but you chose not to. Killing is easy. Any predator can kill. Danny met her ancient eyes. The hard part is knowing exactly how much force to use. Just enough to end the fight. No more. He walked past her, out of the arena, into the corridor beyond. Behind him, the crowd was still roaring. Debates were already starting about what they had seen. Arguments about technique, about luck, about whether the human had cheated somehow. But Rilith, watching from the highest seats with his clutch sister Nimri, understood something the others had missed. Danny had not won because he was stronger than Gorvin. He had won because he understood exactly what strength was for. Not dominance. Not destruction. Not fear. Protection. Precision. Mercy and that was far more terrifying than any brute force could ever be. The Grand Assembly Hall had been built to hold every member of the Academy at once. In 3,000 years of operation, it had only been filled to capacity 11 times. This was the 12th. Administrator Cella stood at the central podium, her wispy form steady against the backdrop of galactic flags. Recording drones broadcast her image to every corner of the Union. The beings watching numbered in the trillions. 1 week ago, she began, a challenge was fought in this academy. A Trekkie champion faced a human cadet. The match lasted 4 seconds. Murmurs rippled through the assembled crowd. In those 4 seconds, we witnessed something unprecedented. A Deathworld species demonstrating not just physical capability, but something far more valuable. Control, precision, the ability to end a conflict without destruction. She paused, letting her words settle. For 3,000 years, this academy has trained warriors to fight. We have measured strength by damage inflicted. We have rewarded aggression and celebrated those who crush their opponents most completely. Her ancient eyes swept across the gathered cadets. We were wrong. The murmurs grew louder. Effective immediately, the Academy's combat curriculum is being restructured. The right of challenge will remain, but with amendments. All challenges must now be reviewed by a panel that will determine whether physical combat is truly necessary or whether the conflict can be resolved through other means. Protests erupted from the Trekkie section. Chellis raised one hand, and silence fell. Additionally, a new mandatory course will be added to the curriculum: Deathworld Physiology and Combat Doctrine. The course will be taught by visiting instructors from Earth. This time, the noise was a mixture of shock and curiosity. The galaxy has misunderstood what makes a Deathworld species dangerous. We assumed it was raw strength, aggression, the inability to control violent impulses. Chellis turned slightly, her gaze finding Danny in the crowd. We were wrong about that too. Danny sat in the middle section, wearing his standard uniform. He looked no different than he had on his first day. Calm, patient, unremarkable, except for the hundreds of eyes now fixed on him. Humans evolved as persistence predators. They hunted not through strength or speed, but through endurance and knowledge. They learned to track prey for days. They learned medicine to heal wounds that would kill other species. They learned anatomy, not just to survive, but to end fights without killing. Chellis's voice hardened. A species that can disable an opponent without permanent harm is far more dangerous than one that can only destroy. Because destruction is a failure. It means the conflict could not be resolved any other way. True strength is having the power to end a life and choosing not to. She looked directly at Danny. The Academy exists to train warriors who can protect the Galactic Union. We have been training them to fight. Perhaps it is time we also train them to choose when fighting is necessary. The assembly ended in controlled chaos. Cadets argued in corridors. Instructors debated in meeting rooms. The galactic networks exploded with opinions from every corner of known space. Danny ignored all of it. He returned to his quarters and began packing his bag. Rillith found him an hour later, carefully folding his few possessions. "You're leaving?" The Sorvani's voice cracked. "Not exactly." Danny looked up with a slight smile. "Administrator Chellis offered me a position, teaching assistant for the new course." Rillith's mandibles clicked in confusion. "You are staying? As an instructor, as an assistant? I'm still a cadet technically, but I will be helping the Earth instructors when they arrive." Danny finished folding his shirt. "I thought you would be happy." "I am. I just did not expect it." Rillith hesitated. "I have something to tell you." "What is it?" "I requested a room transfer." Danny's expression flickered. Something that might have been hurt crossed his features before disappearing. "I understand," he said quietly. "After everything that happened, you probably want distance from me. I do not blame you. That is not what I meant." Rillith stepped closer. "I requested to remain your roommate. Permanently. The original assignment was meant as punishment. I asked them to make it permanent by choice." Danny stared at him. "You are the strangest being I have ever met," Rillith continued. "You are terrifying and gentle at the same time. You could have killed Gorvin with your bare hands, but you made sure he would recover completely. You are a Deathworlder who reads books and meditates and helps small insects reach high shelves. Danny laughed. It was a real laugh, warm and surprised. Rilith had never heard him laugh like that before. Is that a yes? Rilith asked nervously. That is definitely a yes. Danny extended his hand. Thank you, Rilith, for giving me a chance. Rilith took the hand carefully. Human skin was warm, rougher than he expected. Strong but gentle. Thank you for not eating me. Danny laughed again. They walked to the mess hall together, as they had every day for weeks. But this time, things were different. Nimri joined them at their table. A few other Servani followed. Then a Pelian cadet who had been watching Danny from afar. Then two engineering students who wanted to ask about Earth's power systems. By the time they finished eating, their corner table had become the most crowded spot in the hall. Across the room, Gorvin sat alone. His hand had healed. His body had recovered. But something in his eyes had changed. He watched Danny with an expression that was no longer hatred or fear. It was something closer to respect. Danny noticed. He nodded once in Gorvin's direction. A small gesture, an acknowledgement between warriors. Gorvin nodded back. The galaxy was learning what humans really were. Not monsters, not cowards, something far more complicated, and Danny had all the time in the world to teach them.